want to kick us off, Jody, and just kind of fill us in on what got you interested in transitioning to the diet that you're on now?
Thanks, Rance. Yeah, I about a year and a half ago was struggling with a lot of inflammation, some swollen joints that I did not want to have. That my mother at one point said, "Oh, look, you have the same swollen thumb as me," and she still has the swollen thumb, and she ended up with hers at the same age I am now, and that was 20 years ago. So I did not want to have that. I had brain fog, struggled with cravings like crazy, ate a lot of sugar, even though I was eating a healthy diet. I ate a lot of chocolate covered almonds. Those are my go-to. So I started transitioning to more eating more protein. And then I listened to a podcast on carnivore and it just clicked. And it's funny because about 5 years ago, I heard just on the radio somebody talking about my son just eats steak. And I was like, that is the dumbest thing ever. And now I'm like, just eat steak. It's the best thing for you. Um, so anyway, I listened to the podcast. I think it was actually Dr. Baker and Joe Rogan, and uh, and then got through Christmas. Again, crazy sugar, and January started and never looked back. And it's the best thing I've ever done. My life is simpler. My brain fog is mostly gone unless I stray. My joints, my thumb is not swollen anymore, which I love. And I lost weight I didn't know I had to lose. And I just have constant energy. Um, I also suffer from an autoimmune disease, psoriasis, and it is quiet, which I appreciate. Um, so yeah, so that's what kind of spurred on my transition, and that brought me to where I am today.
Oh, that's so awesome. I love that. It just goes against everything that I think all of us have been told or taught since birth. So it's super cool to see, I guess, the reality manifest in your story. But thank you for sharing that. And, Justine, whenever Uh, okay, just wanted to make sure the tech thing was going okay. So, could you tell us too, kind of about what started your journey into like the way that you live and eat now?
Yes, of course. Thank you, Rance. Everything started when I was a young child. I had a lot of digestive issues like stomach pain, bloatiness, diarrhea, constipation, also vomitings. And
Mm.
I remember at the time my doctors couldn't figure it out what was going on with my body. And I was given some medications which they were not helping out. Um, so in the meantime, I also had problems with my hands. When the temperatures were dropping down, my hands were becoming purple, white, red, having my skin creating open wounds, open cracks, which was very hurtful, and also my joints were swelling. And about when I was 10 years old, I was diagnosed that I have Raynaud's syndrome. This is an autoimmune condition, and doctors couldn't also uh, do much because there's not so much medications on it. So they were just telling me to keep it warm, uh, and that's it. To wear gloves and not to be too much outside during cold days. Um, and over the years, my health was not improving. Um, and I remember back in 2015 was like a uh, very big year for me. I found one girl that she was having some issues with her health, fertility issues, some inflammations in her body, and she was going to her holistic doctor. She was from Australia at the time. Um, and I followed her journey. and the doctor put her on a kind of paleo diet. And she, within 3 months, her health improved a lot. And after 6 months, she was able to conceive her first baby. And this is for me inspiration. For me, maybe this diet will help me. So I started like changing my nutrition. I started removing the foods that were not good for me. I did some trials and errors, like which foods were not good for me. And one of the first foods that I removed were gluten and dairy. And then it improved my health a lot. But when I introduced them back, everything was coming back, like my hands issues, um, lower stomach issues, digestive issues, irritable bowel syndrome, diarrhea, brain fog, problems with sleeping, and a lot of other issues. And back in the beginning of 2016, I decided, okay, I'm going fully paleo slash animal based. And the grains, refined sugars, pasteurized dairy, um, and we started on meat, eggs, high quality foods, and my health, and also my kids have, because they were also doing since very young age with another autoimmune condition, our health improved. And it was my inspiration to become a health practitioner, become a nutritionist and personal trainer, and Primal health coach to be able to help other people dealing with similar issues with autoimmune conditions. Not only that, beyond that.
I think that's just beautiful. Um, man, it it sounds like so far we've all come from places that were rough or heading in the direction of rough, and we changed our trajectories. And it's almost like what is it? We got lucky. We stumbled upon something or saw somebody else doing it, as opposed to just running into it or being taught it by the mainstream. But oh, I guess I should just talk about mine. Um, yeah. So this was probably 8 years ago that my own health problems peaked. And I had been a chubby kid all throughout my childhood. I got really sick when I was super young. I don't remember exactly what age. I know I was younger than 10, but I got super sick coming back from visiting the Philippines, and I was like a little skeleton. So my grandparents really, out of love, overfed me because they were kind of traumatized by how emaciated I was, and it plumped me up. And I think growing up, and I think you both could probably say the same thing, that people make the joke like if kids are fat, it's like no, they're just healthy and happy, and that's kind of what it was for me. Everybody is like, your kids are healthy, and it's like, well, we were chunky kids, and I I guess I didn't really recognize my issues until probably 2017, because all of that I'd been dealing with was the normal for me because I didn't know anything else. But just to give you a sample of the list of things that were going on, I had really bad eczema on the back of my arms. I had dry and cracking and bleeding skin on my face, and I guess eczema on my legs as well. And my energy levels were really bad. They were bad when I was younger. Like I wasn't a super energetic, super playful kid, and I played all the sports, but it's because my dad forced me, and no ill feelings to him towards him. But uh, oh, I got to a point where I couldn't stay awake for more than a couple hours. I would have to take a nap, and this was eating up to this point mostly home cooked meals, but it was a lot of bread, a lot of corn, a lot of potato. Um, Protein was like a third of the plate or less. And continuing down this trajectory, my mom passed from cancer, and she was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, and I presented with all the same symptoms she did. So much so that there were a couple times where I guess people who understand bipolar disorder or who are dealing with it will understand this, but little things out of nowhere can make you just go from 0 to 100 in an instant. And I actually have a bone, a small bone behind my pinky in my right hand that I've broken twice over the course of my life because of a situation that overloaded me. And I just punched the closest thing to me. And both times they happened to be things harder than my hand. So that's what I was dealing with. And lots of explosive, like not being able to handle situations, breaking down, crippling anxiety and depression, not wanting to leave my house, scraped my way very slowly and painfully through college, and luckily had a lot of understanding professors. But my body was just kind of crumbling. I mean, I think I had all the symptoms presenting of type 2 diabetes, hypertension. It was like I had the body of a 80 or 90-year old. And so it was in 2017 that I came across this thing on the internet about Vince Gironda. I might be butchering that last name, but he was a bodybuilder, and he was preaching steak and tons of eggs. And so I tried that. My wife tried it as well for 30 days, and we felt amazing, but somehow I didn't make the connection in my head that that was like something that I could keep doing. I was like, okay, this was a good reset. I remember we also both took like a shot of water and salt, but at the time I didn't know that like Morton's iodized salt wasn't the way to go. And I remember both of us being sick to our stomachs for like 24 hours. But I did that. And then I kind of did what was maybe keto for a little while. But my health problems came back because I was snacking all the time. It's like we always had chocolate in the kitchen. And I was in there maybe every hour, hour and a half. Like I was grazing, and things got really bad. So much so that like I remember um, blowing up at work, and I won't say where it was, but I broke a very expensive piece of equipment because I was so overloaded and brain fogged. And I remember the back of like the base of my spine, right at my skull, was burning. And sometimes it would make this popping and clicking noise. Still don't know what it was. But that was the day that was like, I need to make a change. And I could tell it was hurting my family the way I was, and it was endangering my livelihood because I didn't want to get fired because there's only so much patience an employer can have. But I remember also coming across an interview with Dr. Baker. I don't think it was the Joe Rogan podcast, but I saw a video of him because I threw a Hail Mary and just got on YouTube and was typing in all the crap I was dealing with, looking for something, and carnivore diet popped up. So I started that in 2019, and I've been doing it ever since. And I don't have any of the problems that I had before. And I think it's such a stark contrast that people think I'm lying all the time and that I'm not actually eating a carnivore diet. But that's where I'm at now, and that's what kind of got me into health coaching as well. Um, yeah.
Thanks for sharing all that, Rance. I'm sure that resonates with a lot of people. And I know as you say stuff, and even as Justine says stuff, like I just went back to my what made me switch to carnivore, which was the biggest impact I've ever had on my life. But yeah, if I go back to like 16 when I was writing down every little thing I wrote, 1,200 calories a day, no more than 20 grams of fat, right? Like it's just when I first started working out, and that was just kind of the beginning. That was the beginning of my interest in health. That and going to like aerobics classes with my mom when I was a kid. That's always the best, right? The spandex back then was awesome. Um, but yeah, and then, my autoimmune disease developing in my late 20s, gluten off and on, dealing with that because I didn't want to follow down the same path as my mom, who had me very young. And so she's only 19 years older than me, and she kept having like, I can't eat dairy, I can't eat gluten. And then we'd be like, oh God, what else are you going to not be able to eat? And then like 10 years later, I'm hitting that same path. So now my younger siblings, I'm like, okay, guys, we got to change your trajectory because we really follow closely behind her. Um, and thankfully, they both are very much into my sister's husband's carnivore now too, and she almost is. And But yeah, like the journey throughout, my son really suffered from eczema, and I never put him on a carnivore diet of any sort, but I did restrict his salicylates, and found again on YouTube a Hail Mary, and found an eczema detox book from this author in Australia that saved him. Like 3 months of doing that, he was healed, and we never looked back. And he eats what he wants now and doesn't have any issue. But then also with your bipolar, like that, and mental health. I remember going to my naturopath once and her saying, like, "Do you ever feel rage?" I'm like, "Yeah, I do." And I don't want to, right? And now I don't, right? I'm very even keeled. I'm able to take a step back before instead of reacting and, play things out. It's calming. And my sister-in-law also has gone carnivore recently, and I notice a huge difference in her um, mental health and personality. And just, yeah, you're steadier because you're not having that fluctuation with the glucose spikes and insulin spikes, and you're up and down and all over the place, and hormones are unregulated. And it's just pretty amazing, actually, how many things we don't consider because we just think of our body as individual systems, and how amazing you can feel.
Totally. Totally. Thank you for sharing that. That's, man, it's like everything is designed right now to hit us really hard and leave us confused and wondering. Because, like you said, everything is looked at as a bunch of individual components working separate from each other. And that's how, I guess, the standard of care is right now. It just treats people like a bunch of parts and everything works together. And we're all seeing that because I think, we look at all different areas of lifestyle, or we pay respect to all different areas of lifestyle. Because I know we're talking diet right now, but I know that we've all had some kind of, I guess, physical activity journey too that's run parallel to our changing of our diets and changing our lifestyles. But I know that sleep is a big part of all of our journeys, and so is stress management. And, um, but I guess to get into that, you know, maybe Justine, do you think you could kind of run us into how or what other areas you saw improving your health outside of just diet change?
Physical activity.
Hmm.
Second biggest part besides nutrition was the physical activity. Um, it's like my big year for starting my my physical my movement was 2013. This was actually the year when I started both nutrition and um, physical activity. It's like the first year when I started like looking like, oh, like those non-GMO project on the packaging with those sorts of grains uh, and other stuff that we don't eat anymore today. But it's like I started doing like very tiny changes, like eat more eggs instead of processed foods, eat more meat instead of um, simple carbs or sweets, stuff like that. So I started doing like all of those little changes, but for me it was like big, like the non-GMO products searching for. And May 2013, I started my physical activity. I remember I got at Walmart 2 pound dumbbells, and I did my very first workout at home. So it was activity based, 45 minutes full body workouts. And I was sore for almost a week. I couldn't walk. But I kept pushing physical activity and my trainings, my movement. And I remember 2019 was my year. One of the mornings in August 2019, I decided I want to take my training to the higher level to compete in a bodybuilding competition in bikini division. So I woke up in the morning, very pumped up, very happy, and I started searching a gym. I took my kids with me. I started searching a gym that I can start training, and that has also childcare because I didn't have anyone to watch my kids, and my kids were still too young to be able to to be by themselves for a little bit at home. So I found a gym, very beautiful, big gym with all of the fancy equipment. And I signed up. I got my coach at the time, but then later on, I switched to bodybuilding coach, which led me very nicely to my very first competition in November 2019. And I got a new coach a couple months later, someone who's a local. And he led me with the nutrition, and I told him about my nutritional needs that I have, that what type of foods that I don't eat, which food I eat, and he was able to very nicely um, modify my diet, my meal plan. And he let me for my coach let me for a couple of years, and I got multiple trophies. I did 3 big shows with him, and I got about 14 trophies. So, and I will say that if not that nutrition part, changing my nutrition, coming out of this standard American diet to paleo slash animal based, heavy animal based, and heal my body, I would not be where I am today.
Yeah. I mean, for somebody to go from dealing with all the things that you dealt with to getting trophies in competition, that's no small feat. That's huge and a testament to the power of living in alignment with our bodies the way we're supposed to, eating the right things, moving the right way. So that is super cool. And I think the natural progression of the conversation now is just kind of leaning towards fitness, but I do want to keep it open. Jody, I guess, is there an area that really stood out to you outside of diet that got you to where you are now, or you think complemented it?
Well, I'm actually, before I jump in on myself, I'm curious with Justine with her fitness journey, what other benefits she notices? Like you work out as well, Rance, and have, built a big muscle base. I am the same, muscle so important. Justine, what other benefits did you notice aside from like your physique when it came to working out, lifting heavy things?
Confidence, confidence, mental strength,
Mm.
physical strength. This, of course, but mostly was mental strength, because I had days that I didn't feel like even getting up on my bed and go to the gym. But I knew that I have a goal, and doesn't and for everyone else doesn't need to be a bodybuilding competition. For someone else, just can be, hey, I just want to get stronger. I just want to improve my sleep, get my confidence back, improve my other health related stuff, just overall health improvement. So for me, it was like the big factor of mental strength, that no matter what life is throwing at you, you are getting up to keep going. Because of we cannot count on motivation. What we can count is discipline. So the nutrition part, the physical activity taught me to be disciplined and just make it happen and keep going, no matter how hard that gets, how hard the situation is, you keep going. And also, besides that mental strength, I also saw improvement in my sleep, in my stress management. I was able to easier manage my stress. Um, so I was able to become a better mom for my kids, which was also my biggest motivation, because they like doing a lot of activities. Like they love hiking, they love biking, take our bikes and go to bike trails to different areas around us where we live. And also my kids, they are happy that their mom is healthy, that their mom found their dreams and goals, and just like and me being a inspiration and motivation for them.
That's also an
So
important thing, Justine,
yeah.
is like touching on, you know, it, it's not selfish to put yourself first, right?
Mhm.
And I think we can
Yeah.
all attest to that so that you can be your best self for your family, your
Yes.
friends, your work, whatever is important to
Mhm.
you. But
Yes, exactly.
noticing, that it makes such a big difference when you have an outlet, like working out for me is a stress outlet as well as it built my confidence when I was introduced to the gym by a boyfriend when I was 16. I was just a quiet little person in school my whole life that would have rather dug a hole than talked in front of anybody. And it boosted my confidence and my mental health. And you have to have that confidence to walk into a strange gym if you're in a new town and you know how to work things and do things. And it's an accomplishment, right? To be able to go into a gym and work out because it's scary.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, and you're right. And the discipline
Yes.
is
And
that's
motivated.
required, especially with competitions. I've not to nearly your extent, but in 2011 I did a bikini competition too, and you would have blown me out of the water, but I was still proud of what I did, and that was a big accomplishment. Yeah, so having that drive, right, to
Mhm.
see something through, especially when you have a deadline, right? You have to be a certain
Mhm.
way by a certain date at a certain time. Essentially, it boils right down to the
Mhm.
minute at the end there. But yeah, working out, building muscle it's so important even just for longevity and
Exactly.
just all around quality of life.
And Jody, just about the bodybuilding competition, just going on the stage,
Mm-hmm.
going there, showing up,
Yep.
and showing off your hard work that you put for the past weeks, past couple of months. It shows off that you are a winner. You are already a winner. It doesn't matter if you have first place, if you won the overall, if you get a trophy or not, you are a winner.
Yeah, it
Because
takes a
it
lot to
takes
walk
a
on that
lot
stage.
of you.
I was
It takes
shaking
a
so bad I thought I was going to fall down. I had to will myself to stay up.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I remember my first competition. Uh, I actually almost tripped
Yeah.
on it
Yeah. Yeah,
on
the
it because
heels.
of
The
those
heels
stairs.
don't help. Rance, I feel like maybe we should get you into a little competition here and
Oh yeah,
Oh,
so you can
yeah.
experience that. No, I'm just kidding.
if I don't have to wear heels, I mean,
Well, that
I
could be part of the fun.
No,
I'm
no,
sure
we
there's
need to have
competitions
heels.
now with no, just kidding. Oh
no,
God.
I'll admit, like, total
Uh,
respect and props to both of you because I have never had, I've in my past anyway, I've never had the courage to go and do that. And I've thought about it and had friends that did it. And I went through a 6 month phase where I packed on what I think was a ton of muscle because I was pretty lean as well at the end of that 6 months. But I will say, I was not in the mental place at that time period. We were taking a pre-workout, my two friends and I, and it was called Mesomorph, I think, if memory serves. It is no longer a thing, at least not in the formula that it was at the time. It has since been banned. We didn't know this, but it tested for trace amounts of meth. And so, I mean, we were eating everything under the sun that time, and I was feeling horrible the entire time. We were going to Subway multiple times a week, and I was getting like double meat tuna. So it's like, well, theoretically more meat, assuming that's what it actually was. But I just remember we were working out 2 to 3 hours per night, 6 nights per week. And a friend of mine, and full disclosure, this definitely contributed to my poor health. He told me to buy the biggest bottle I could find of aspirin and eat it like candy. And so that 6 month block, we were working out, taking a banned pre-workout, wasn't banned at the time, but and just eating a bunch of bread and ice cream and taking a bunch of aspirin. It was just the perfect disaster. And I think it's a testament to the human body because I built a lot of muscle and I looked good. And I remember I was turning heads at the place I worked, but I felt like crap. And that's the period where it was the worst, where I could stay awake for like 2 hours. It was so bad. But I mean, props to both of you because I don't think at any point prior to more recently would I could I have done that and been in the right mental place to pull that off, especially if they test and find trace amounts of meth. So there's that. That was my tell all.
And so I guess leading from here, why don't we roll into like Justine today? How has your life changed and how do you feel today and what do your days look like nutritionally and with your workouts?
Yes, thank you actually for asking this. So today I am the healthiest I was before, and I don't have uh, these two immune immune conditions, the IBS and the renal syndrome. They went into remission, but I would say at least 95%. So occasional when I eat something that triggers my digestion, or I spend a little bit too long outside when it's cold weather, it triggers a little bit. But there's not even close nearly to the symptoms that I was experiencing years back before I completely changed my diet back in 2015/2016. Um, my kids also, they are the healthiest. They barely get sick. If they do, there's maybe a little sore throat, a little cough. I'll just give them some honey, lemon with tea with lemon and or some oil of oregano, and usually it helps. Um, no antibiotics, no antibiotics for the last couple of years. And my workouts are I train 5 to 6 days a week just to right now to maintain. And I'm not like going very intense like when I was doing the prep for the competition. But like right now it's mostly to maintain what I have. And my nutrition, it's very clean. I eat mostly animal based, since I eat a lot of red meat, some chicken, pasteurized eggs, fruit on the side. My favorite sweet potatoes is like my staple complex carbs in my bodybuilding. And um, occasionally I do some homemade sweets. There's occasion, but mostly my nutrition is, as I say, solid animal based. And it's usually eating 4 or 5 meals a day.
It looks like you've just really found your rhythm for diet and lifestyle, which and I want to take just a quick second to say that I think we're all the mindset too. We're not super dogmatic. We don't live in just one corner of diet or lifestyle. You know, obviously, Justine is an example of somebody who is healthy, happy, and mentally clear. And she is she's living a lifestyle that incorporates foods that I can't. But just because I can't doesn't mean I'm going to tell her like you shouldn't be eating that. So yeah, we're here very much I think, together in this mission because we want to take care of people and help people, and that's the anchor, helping people, not imposing a strict will of our own on somebody else. But that was my little tangent.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. And Rance, this is what connects us. We have a lot of similarities. We have the passion for physical activity, for movement, for nutrition, and the biggest passion to help other people. They're going through other similar issues or who can relate to us, and it's a beautiful thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. But I guess just to keep us rolling, Jody, just to be in line with what she asked you, what her life looks like now versus before she made all of her changes.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, I just it's it's a 180. It's simple. Like when it comes just down to carnivore, if I just talk about like what I eat in a day, I like today, for instance, I fasted until 2. I had a couple of coffees in the morning, one with some MCT oil and another one with some later in the day with some butter and MCT oil. And then we went for a beautiful hike in the around a really beautiful lake in the forest here and came home and I had beef ribs, like so delicious, so yummy. I just love them. Just plain beef ribs with salt and then tonight, well, my husband and I get to go on a date, which is rare, so it'll probably be a burger patty or a steak and some bacon and butter, something along those lines, but I just love the simplicity of it. I love that like if I'm by myself, my grocery list can be bacon, butter, and some steak and maybe eggs if I want them. Like that's it. It's so and coffee, always coffee. But but yeah, it's so simple. And my family too has come around. They're low carb. They're not carnivore by any means, but we certainly have lots of meals where I'm like, I just baked a whole bunch of burger patties. What do you guys want with them? And if it's lunch, they'll often say nothing. Maybe they'll have cheese on theirs. Dairy is something that comes in and out of my life, and I think it's probably best out. Um, but but yeah, and then otherwise limited fruit for them, limited carbs for them, and I do notice a difference in them. My kids are 15, my son's 15 and my daughter's 12, and my husband as well. Um he's come around quite a bit actually. He used to be a chipaholic and now now he's just a peanut butteraholic. We're working on that too. But 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 yeah, so the simplicity of it. And then I love that like within 2 months, not even within a month of my changes were so drastic. And actually one thing I'll say is very first thing I noticed, and one of the reasons which I didn't touch on that I did this is because I stubbed my toe really bad when I was doing yoga. I think I was just coming from a plank into downward dog, or no, I was bringing my foot up from plank, and and I think I must have broke it or I jammed the joint. So it got very sore, not that joint, but the joint further up in my foot. And I needed that to go away because it's affecting my day-to-day life. And so within 3 days of starting carnivore, my feet got smaller, my shoes got bigger, I should say. And the inflammation went away. And now I don't even think about it anymore. It's a non-issue. Um, so that and amongst other things within the first month, I was like, I got to do something. Like everybody needs to know that life can be so easy and good, and you can feel so good and not struggle with like dieting, right? It's not dieting. It's just your way of eating. Um, so that's what brought me to figuring out coaching and finding Primal Health and going down that track because I've always wanted to help people. But the other cool thing is learning coaching and not telling people what to do. I've just led by example. And so many people, friends and family around me, have changed what they do. Not necessarily carnivore, but they're altering what they're doing and they're having great results. And I didn't have to, they come to me and I do little mini coaching sessions with them, but there's no telling them what to do, which is what I love about coaching. It's just a walk with them instead of pulling them along. And Rance, like you've been coaching inadvertently, it sounds like for a very long time. Um, but now you have your coaching and you've really come full circle. So why don't you tell us a bit about what your most recent healthy life has been like?
Yeah. Uh, gosh, big, big topic, I guess, but I'm going to try to compress it kind of. Yeah, I guess to what you were saying is accidentally health coaching. I kind of left out the fact that I thought that everything could be cured through working out. Now I know that a lot of things can be dramatically improved or cured through just working out, but I was a personal trainer in 2019, but failing with my own health, and that's what put me into carnivore and accidentally health coaching and looking at all other things outside of fitness that help people. But right now, I mean, my most recent health, I still, because of how long I was unhealthy before, am shocked when and exercise doesn't injure me, because I was chronically injured before when I was sick and old-bodied. And I'm talking about doing things with perfect form, and people can make up their mind if I'm telling the truth about perfect form. But that's something I really focused on back then. Something as simple as just doing a curl could leave my wrists injured. Now I have some leeway. It's like if I'm pushing a heavier weight, not that I'm ever trying to do it improperly, but if I make a small mistake, it doesn't leave me injured like doing it perfectly in the past would. And I even find now there are also moments where something will happen that would normally have caused a lot of anxiety before, and now it doesn't. And I have this weird feeling like, wait a second, is the anxiety going to come? Because this is normally the anxiety would be here right now. Things like that, even things like climbing a ladder. I used to be really bad with heights, and it's the weirdest thing. I'm still not racing to climb a ladder to the top, but it's like I can actually do it now, whereas before I wouldn't even put my foot on the first step. But overall, super mental clarity. Um, and I say that because my memory used to be total garbage too, and I couldn't remember three numbers. And now, I think a lot of us that have like two-factor authentication, whenever we're logging into stuff, it'll give you like a 6 to 8 digit code. And it's been fun for me since my brain really healed up and cleared up to not be looking back and forth. My little thing I do that's kind of goofy is I read that number once, and I only let myself read that number once, and then I go to plug it in. And if I don't get it right, then I'm going to ask for a new code. But I haven't had that happen yet in years. So I don't know. I don't even feel like I'm in the same body anymore. It's like my brain got popped out of the old rotting corpse and stuck in a new body. That's how good I feel after, maybe the past 5 or 6 years on carnivore. Just life's a dream. I just eat meat, and it's lately been between lamb and beef. Not a lot of eggs lately, not because they really give me a bunch of problems, but I'm just not drawn to them anymore. There was a point where they made me feel really good, but I think it's because I was in that phase where I was topping off a lot of stuff that I was missing. But I don't know. I just feel so good now, and I don't want to, not that I don't want to, I don't have any interest personally in reintroducing things. And I think that might make me a little different than a lot of people because I'm all for people trying to find as many things as they can incorporate that don't harm their health because that also just makes it easier for them to live in modern day society. Um, yeah, but that's where I'm at. I just feel good. Never thought I could. I remember a lot of nights thinking that this is just how life is and I just suck at it.
Thanks. Thanks so much for sharing that. It's true. Like I will disagree slightly in that I think it's easier, but and it's getting easier. Being carnivore is getting easier, but I
Mm,
feel like not, I guess I suffer from a lot of decision fatigue, right? Like, what are we going to
mm,
make for dinner tonight? And all those sorts of things. And like when you go out for a restaurant, we don't go out very often, but I'm like, it's easy. I know I just order a steak or a burger patty with whatever, right? Like I almost find it easier, but I'm
mm,
not like Justine, you've mentioned multiple times before that you love variety. And whereas I'm perfectly happy eating the same thing every day. And I eat a lot of functional
Yeah.
meals like sardines. It's just purely function. But again, Rance, to your talking about the eggs and everything has like comes in when your body needs it. You have cravings for certain things when your body needs them, right? And I'm in the same boat as you right now with eggs. I think they're an out, but sardines are an in.
mm, mm. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I'm glad that you make that important distinction, and I'm happy to be called out because I think that carnivore, in theory, is hard in theory. But once
Yeah.
you get into a good rhythm, once you're fat adapted, I think well, at least for me and for many people I've worked with, the cravings go away.
Yeah.
And I think that's where a lot of the hesitation with people is in going into a low carb, ketogenic, carnivore diet because they think that, oh, I've got all these cravings for pasta and bread and candy right now. And they think that switching over to that diet means eating the foods that are on that plan, but still living with those cravings. And it's nice that the cravings get quiet on this way of eating. And I think the same way with paleo, animal-based paleo, low-carb paleo, because all the processed things, all the hyper-palatable things, at least to the extent that they're so prevalent around us and in convenience stores, they're taken out and they're no longer demanding all of your, dopamine. They're no longer cheap dopamine hits in your diet when you switch to something so clean as what we're all on. But I do want to say, I know that we've all mentioned reintroducing things, and I think I will say it's a slippery slope, but part of coaching, I feel, is getting people to properly understand themselves and be honest with themselves. And if a person is honest with themselves when trying to reintroduce things, then it just reduces the risk of bringing something back in and lying to yourself and saying, oh, I can have this, even though it's maybe something that's hurting them. But I mean, obviously, what I'm doing is working for me. Jody, what you're doing is working for you. Justine, what you're doing is working for you. Because if it wasn't, we would have poor sleep. We would have poor stress management. We would, we wouldn't be feeling as good as we do. And I would go so far as to say that, you know, our blood work, if we went down that rabbit hole, if it's in a good place, if we're falling within the bounds of being metabolically healthy, then I think that's a safe way to also determine, am I doing something that's right for me that's actually working? And so all that to say, it's just I wanted to balance it out and say, even though I'm for people reintroducing and trying things, just that whole be mindful when you do it. Don't start eating entire loaves of bread a day and be like, well, I don't feel horrible, but if you're not feeling as good as you were prior, then maybe it's not something you want to keep around in any large amount.
Well, and that's the beauty
And
of
to
that too, is that, sorry, Justine, I'll just say one quick thing is that when you do heal, you can get away with like a celebratory meal if it's somebody's birthday, straying a little bit
Hmm.
one time or a couple of times, right? But then you end up right back where you started if you get back on that. That's the same, it's going to create the same symptoms if you eat that same food over and over and over and over again, right? Whereas I like to eat the foods that make me feel fantastic and nourish my body, and my body uses all of them. Like if we got into even the waste of food, like that's a whole nother topic. Anyways, yeah, sorry, Justine, go ahead.
Yeah, with the reintroduction foods, this is not like once you heal your body, for example, being on keto or even on a strict carnivore for certain time. So people may think, oh, I healed, I feel fantastic, so now I can grab all of the 20, 30, 40 foods and I can eat all of them at once. No, this is not like that. You need to do it very slowly and take basically one thing at a time and see how your body reacts to it. If you don't get any negative reactions, it means that you can introduce slowly and slowly increasing that particular food to your daily nutrition, and slowly introducing another thing and then another thing, just one at a time, once with small steps
Mhm.
that create too much chaos in your body.
That's so important. So important. I see people grab things in like groups of three or four, and then and then they have problems, and they're like, oh, I don't know which of the four
Mhm.
things it is. And it's,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Mhm.
thank you for bringing that up. That's such an important point.
Jody, Rance, we slowly started wrapping up. It was great to connect today and talk about our health journeys and how we are healing. And it's amazing how we are coming from a different but yet similar backgrounds, and how the nutrition was a big part in our lives, in our healing journey, and how impacted us not only us personally, our health, mental health, discipline, and sleep, stress management, but also being an inspiration for our families and other people around us, our friends, other relatives. Yeah, it was great to connect today and also share with other people who are watching this video right now, and hopefully this video also will be inspiration to them to get their health, to make this very important decision that, hey, I want to become better. I want to become more active. I want to start eating better. I want to do more things with my family. Uh, so it was great to connect with you guys tonight. And we'll see you in our next video. And please don't forget to subscribe to our channel and click the bell button so you will be notified about our next video. So you're not going to miss it. Thank you for listening. Have a great day. Bye.
Thank you so much.